Hey, Flowmies, it's time for another edition of the ITF Flowcast. So this week we are going to talk with Sterling Alexander. So he's a longtime Flowmie. He is the owner of IC Clearview Services out of San Antonio. He's been in business for quite a while. He did pressure washing previous, but he started his own business in 2008. He's bought a couple of the businesses along the way, and we have a really nice conversation about company culture. Trying as you're incorporating these other businesses, how do you instill that culture into the new clients and new the techs that you're bringing in. We also talk about the importance of education, and we don't mean like necessarily going to a 4-year college, but just making sure that as a business owner, you know what you're doing and you know what you're going into. And the only way to get that is either through experience or by having experienced people teach you. So we're going to talk about how he was able to get that education to help him to be a smarter business owner. And then also talking about the importance of structuring your business. And how just the legal aspects of how your business is structured can add to a lot of both financial benefits, but other protections as well. And lastly, we're going to close up the conversation talking about entrepreneurship. He's just started another business he's been doing, and it's so far it's going very well. But we just kind of get into the mindset of an entrepreneur, what things you have to keep in mind, and how you can be successful with that. Anyways, you're going to really enjoy the conversation. So let's go and listen in. Hey, Flowmies, welcome to another edition of the ITF Flowcast. We are so happy to have a longtime Flowmie, Mr. Sterling Alexander. How you doing, buddy?
Great. How's it going?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks so much for taking the time to sit down with us.
Yeah.
So you are the owner of IC Clearview Services in the San Antonio area, correct?
Yes, sir, I am.
Awesome. So when did you start your business?
I started in 2008.
Okay. And did you own other businesses previous?
I did actually. Yes, I did. I started pressure washing in '97. Had a small company. I did it on the side, and then my wife and we owned a restaurant for about a year.
Oh, interesting.
And then I owned a semi-pro basketball team for.
No kidding.
Well, I call it. It was an expensive hobby. So for about 3.5 years, we were in a semi-pro league.
All right. Now, since you're the owner, did you ever put yourself in any games to go play with the guys?
No, I was
okay.
Too old for that. I did shoot around in practice, but yes.
Oh, very cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
And what kind of food did your restaurant serve?
It was a bistro. We did basically breakfast and lunch. We didn't do dinner, so we also had a bar. There was a college that was across the street, so that was a good source of revenue. And then we did a lot of catering, especially to some of the city government buildings and things in the area.
Oh, interesting. Very cool. So I think we'll get to touch on that idea of entrepreneurship later on in the interview. But that's interesting to see that you had such a vast kind of diversity of businesses before you actually got into this. Now, you've been in this one for quite a while. And so what got you in? You say you did pressure washing. Was it just kind of a natural move to window cleaning after that, or at least including that in your services?
I did later on. I did. I just it was kind of a side job. I started seeing just kind of a need for it, and had no idea what I was doing. So so just like everybody. Well, actually, I rented a pressure washer first before I even bought one.
Oh,
so
wow.
I would rent one and go do a job, and then so kind of started from there. But then I was working. Part of my background was power generation. So I worked for some utility companies and things like that. Gotcha. I was in a break room one day, and a guy came in and said, "Hey, man, I have this business, and I don't have time to go out and get sales, and I just need some help." And I was like, "Dude, I like talking to people." And so I went out and I got the first day I went out, I got him a contract with Walgreens. And wow. We were buffing and waxing and stripping floors. It's kind of where I started. And so I went out and got a contract for him. Then when I got another one, and then we were supposed to sit down and kind of talk about compensation. And so for the meeting, he never showed up, called him. And then so I told my wife, I said, "Hey, I got this other stuff." I said, "I'll just do it on the side."
Look at that.
So I started doing it on the side, and then I kept going out, kept getting contracts. And then it got to the point where it was like, I love working for myself. And I said, hey, I'm just going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I started from there, and, it was buff and waxing floors. And I had probably about 65 locations at one particular time. And then we did office cleaning too. And so in that, we did a little bit of window cleaning. And then, like I said, in 2015 is when I kind of shifted from doing more of the office cleaning and buff and wax and stripping to mainly window cleaning and pressure washing. Gotcha. So, go ahead.
No, I was going to say you didn't realize it, but you were hiring yourself as your own serviceman, or salesman, right? You just went out there and you're like, this is easier than I thought. I'm a natural at it. Why am I giving this work off to somebody else? I'm just on my own. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, so just jumped into it, and I think when we first started cleaning, I think I went to Dollar Tree and bought a mop bucket and some Windex, and that's how I started.
Now, how long did you work that way until you actually said, okay, I need to learn how to clean windows?
It was professionally. I think so. Probably, I did some window cleaning, and I think I bought my first water fed pole in probably 2010 or somewhere like that.
Okay.
And so started doing that. So then I got, like I said, then we relocated to San Antonio, and that's when I sold all of the floor equipment pretty much. Gotcha. And so a friend from church introduced me to a guy that was moving that had a window cleaning company. So I said, okay. I shadowed him for like about 2 weeks, and then made him an offer on his business, and so kind of started from there, and just kind of kept progressing.
Now, how big was that company that you bought? Was it enough for you to live off of, or was this just kind of a foundation for you to grow on?
It was kind of a foundation. It was, he was a single operator. Okay. One of the fortunate things that I've been blessed with is an opportunity. My wife, she has a phenomenal job with Cisco Food Corporation. So that allowed me to be able to go out and to work and then start to kind of slowly build everything up.
Gotcha. So it wasn't such a weight on your shoulders, like this has to work or else we're not going to make our mortgage, right?
And so she was always used to me, hey, having these ideas and these business ideas, and so she's been very supportive in that way.
Nice. Yeah, it's like Mike Nichols in a similar situation. His wife, she does great on her own, and so it takes a lot of pressure off of him when he was growing his business. Of course, now he's doing great. I mean, he's really taken off. We had a nice interview with him a few months back. But so you're growing now. When do you get to the point where you're starting to hire? Like you have so much work that you're starting to hire?
So I would say probably 2000. So when I bought the company in 2015, I was a single operator. So I worked by myself, and probably a year and a half, 2 years later, I hired a guy part-time. Okay. And so he was a retired constable, and so he was kind of a helper. So it was nice having someone else there to kind of take the load off.
Yeah.
And so that was the first, kind of the first time that I ended up having somebody work with me.
Yeah. I think that's a really nice way to ease into hiring. When I first hired, I hired a window cleaner, and it was a nightmare. Of course, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand the whole, okay, now I got to pay workers' comp. Now my insurance is up. I didn't really understand how to manage the payroll and to make, I wasn't thinking about profit. I was just thinking, man, I have a lot of work. I need someone to help me with it. Right. And after a while, I started seeing that he was making more than I was. So I backed off, I stepped back. I said, no, forget it. I'm just going to go back to working for myself. Yeah. But I think like if someone is thinking I need to hiring a helper to begin with is a nice way to ease into that, because you don't have to pay them what you would pay normally a window cleaner, a fully skilled window cleaner, but you're still having them do things that will help you to be faster on that job, So it's kind of just a nice slow introduction into that employment pool.
Yeah. So it was so Rob he was retired, and so kind of the running joke was, I used to have to follow behind Rob and make sure everything was touched up like I liked it. And so I used to tell people, Rob doesn't work for me, I work for Rob, because
you cater to him.
I gotta go behind him, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned about how important education was to you, and I'm assuming that the more you started hiring, the more you needed help on how to be a business owner, as opposed to kind of a sole proprietor where you're just working for yourself and taking disbursements as the money comes in. So why was education so important to you, and when did you start taking advantage of it?
It became important. I had some of the fundamental backgrounds as far as, the QuickBooks Online and workers' comp. So I had a little bit of that knowledge there. And I can remember is one day I was out cleaning windows and there was another company across the street. And so I always like, going and introducing myself to other companies and things like that. But he came over and he introduced himself, and he was from Dallas. And so he was like, yeah, I mean, he said, I have a client that is Dallas that has this vacation home here. And I come, once or twice a year. And he said, I'll just canvass the neighborhood and I'll stay at his place and I'll work. And so then we just got to talking about business. And so one of the questions he asked me was like, hey, what is your goal for the next 5 years? And so I'm thinking, I'm just going to work hard. I'm just going to work hard, and, my business will grow from there. And then he said, have you ever been to a convention? And I was like, no, never been. He said, there's one coming up. He said, you ought to check this out. And so I did. So I told my wife, hey, I'm going to a convention. So I went there, and it was just like a whole new world opened up for me. Seeing, the different equipment and the different opportunities, discussing sales and all the classes and courses I went to, and, met some, other entrepreneurs, other business owners. And that's when the whole world opened up.
Nice.
Then kind of as far as hiring more people to come along, I can remember another time was pressure washing. I was doing this pressure washing job, and I kind of looked down, and how you get dirty, everything's dirty. And I was like, hey, who's working on your company right now? And that was kind of a epiphany moment there for me. It was like, hey, I can't do this all on my own, and it's like when you're a single operator, and or if I had a part-time guy, I'm driving home, and I'm like, man, I need to stop here, man, but I'm tired. And then, so, you never get to those things. And then, I have the phone calls, and then the books to do. And so I realized, I needed help.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the beginning of, hey, the training, going out getting training. I've done, several trainings, from pressure washing training, house wash training, and that just improved, the work, the quality of the work that I was doing. And so then, as my experience began to build, my confidence and then especially customers. So I kind of built, I had my expectations of how I wanted jobs to look, after getting all of this training. And so that's, just kind of worked from there.
So which conventions did you attend?
The first was the huge convention in Atlanta. So that was the first one. And, went there, kept in touch with a few people there. Then in Houston, on the UAMCC. So I've gone to several trainings there, several times in Houston. I've done roof training with Gerald Best. Actually, I went, and then I took my sales guy there because I said, hey, if you're going to sales jobs, you need to know what this is all about. So my sales guy, Rob, he basically worked for me for about 1.5 years before he jumped into the sales part. So he got to a full exposure of everything. And we've been friends. We're at church together. So we've been friends for about 6 years. And he has a great sales background. And he's phenomenal.
Gotcha. Very cool. So you started going to these conventions. So what were the different areas that they helped you with? So you've mentioned specific training, so like to get certification, safety, learning, all these things. But was there anything like administrative that helped you out with your growth?
I think I think working with before I had this salesperson, just working on my marketing, things like that. Those were some of the things that was not good at.
Mm-hmm.
So the marketing and just looking at my overall business,
Mm-hmm.
because back then I wasn't thinking about P&Ls. I wasn't thinking about
Right. Exactly.
those types of things. So those kind of helped me. Hey, these are things I need to start thinking about, looking at more often. And
Mm-hmm.
because at one point I didn't know if I was profitable or not.
Right. Oh, me neither.
I go out, sweat, do the job, do the work, get a check. Hey, I'm still paying gas and buying some equipment and supplies. So.
Oh, same thing. I think the thing that helped me the most was the administrative stuff, because
Yeah.
I knew how to clean a window. I knew how to lead in the sense of directing crews and how we're going to do this and trying to be as efficient as possible. I did not understand, like I didn't see the value in having an office staff. I didn't see the value in I'm like, why am I paying someone else the phone? I have my phone right here.
Yeah.
Not really realizing that every phone call I get is taking me away from the job and making me less profitable on that job. So why am I, when I'm supposed to be making $100 to $125 an hour, why am I pulling that away from this job when I could pay someone, $15, $16 an hour to take that call? And that's the stuff that I never had a concept for, that I finally got once I started educating myself and taking those business classes. I remember I took one class and I went and talked to the instructor afterwards, and he was a super nice guy, just totally gave me his time, listened to me, my problems, and I was just saying, I had an office lady who, she was awesome. She'd been with me for 3 years, but she was going to school for medical transcription. And he's like, I was telling her, I said, we're going to have to let her go because she's wanting to, we were paying her $14 an hour. She was wanting to get paid $17 an hour, which is what she would get paid as a medical transcriptionist. And I was just saying, yeah, we're going to have to let her go. And we've hired someone. I just, I feel terrible because now we're starting over from, and the guy's just kind of looking at me. He's like, why are you letting her go over $3 an hour? And I was like, well, I mean, we can't really afford to pay someone to do that. He's like, why not? She knows your business inside and out. She knows all of your customers. She knows how your business runs. That's has value, right? Why are you just gonna let her go? And so he eventually talked me into not using her for the answering phones, but to use her for other things with the business and take advantage of her skills and her knowledge of the business. And so we still have her, and she only works part-time because she still does a lot of her medical transcription, but we were able to keep her value to the business, and she's making what she needs to make. We still have her insight and her value to our company. And I never would have done that if I had not been at that convention. I would have let her go, and that would have been the end of it, So it's just little things like that I think it's so important to surround yourself around people who are business knowledgeable to kind of help you be smart in your business.
Yeah. So that was good. I had a lot of one of the guys that I truly think is Josh Latimer.
Mm-hmm.
Is he helped kind of mentored me through some of when I bought my second company, and because it was a substantial purchase that was to purchase the company, so there was a lot of mentoring. He referred me actually to some other people as well, and that kind of helped me kind of propel to where I'm at now. So.
Right. You had mentioned a little bit about the structuring of your business as being an important part of your, how you run your company. So how did the structuring come into play when you bought that bigger company?
It is basically I created when I started in 2008, it was, I had a friend that's a CPA. So nice. He suggested, then a friend that was an attorney kind of suggested that, I start as a corporation. So I started In Covenant Enterprise Incorporated, and just did the assumed name. I started with In Covenant Cleaning Services, and then I bought a company called Clearview Services. And so I like my name, and I like the meaning behind the name because it's my faith. So I kept that together and just kind of put those together, and then I just put everything under the IC Clearview Services now.
Very good. And so why was that? What do you think that's important small business owners do, because I did the same thing. Once I kind of realized that I had to take my business seriously in order for it to provide for my family. Same thing, talked to a tax professional, got connected with a corporate tax attorney. We became a C Corp. I was thinking I was just going to be an LLC. And they're like, no, with your situation, you need to be a C Corp. It's going to be better for you tax wise, which of course I would have no idea, you know. And we've been that ever since. And so why do you think that's important for someone to at least start thinking about, even if they're not going to pull the trigger just yet?
I think, I mean, it lends to the, legitimacy of your company. If I think if you go to somewhere and they, hey, do you know what's your company? Well, I don't have a company structure. I don't have that. So I think it helps build the credibility in your company, but it's also, I mean, I want everything to be legal. I mean, I never want anything to come back. The IRS, I had a friend that she worked for the IRS, and her advice when I started a company she said, never skip a payment with the IRS. She said, you don't want to get on their bad side. So I've made it a point to make sure that those things are taken care of. Nice. The tax wise, the legal structure, then the legal structure itself, it provides, especially even an LLC or a corporation, we're an S Corp, you have, if some, sued, God forbid you get sued, you have, kind of a sheet of protection, you're protecting your family assets and your personal stuff. So I think that's, you definitely want to do everything is, on the up and up.
Well, the protection is a big part for sure, because, when you're small, when you start out, you don't really think about, oh, I could, get in a car accident and they could take everything from me, or, you scratch up a window. And now if you don't have the money to replace that window or to get it fixed, it can actually come after your personal stuff. So that whole, again, the more trucks you have out in the field, the more that comes into play. So you got to protect yourself on that for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think what it did for us too was it kind of balanced out our ups and downs of the business, because we have monsoon rains here in Tucson, Arizona, which is southern Arizona. So we are super busy in the spring, but when the summer comes, snowbirds leave. They go back. They want to go up north. They don't want to stay here like us crazy people who live in the heat. And then 2, we get these rains. So people are like, oh, no, I'm not getting my windows clean until after the rain stop. So that means there's a gap about 2.5 months where very few people are getting their windows cleaned. And we would go from spring where we just, the money's coming in and we're like, yeah, we got this, we got that. And then it's dead. Oh, wow. And then you're eating ramen noodles and you're, trying to decide whether you're going to pay your water bill or your electric bill, and once we incorporated and I got on a salary, everything evened out. It's like the highs aren't highs any, so high, but the lows aren't lows, it was so we're so much more steady. And there's times where like we may skip a paycheck or whatever to help with the payroll if we're super slow. And I try to get my guys as much work as I can during that time. But it's like we're not like what we used to be, where I mean, we really wondered if we would survive a summer.
I used to be scared to take, I mean, I took a small salary for years. And, a lot of my employees never even knew that. And, it was after I bought the second company, some of the former employees from the other company, they thought I was a millionaire. And I was like, right. I just don't know. I mean, I'm getting, $700 a month and I just want to make sure everything was done. But, then, finally, taking a salary, my wife was like, hey, take a salary. And then it's almost magically everything still lined out and everything was still going right. So
again, going back to education, my mindset change on that was when I took a class on the Profit First book. They had at the IWCA convention, they had a talk based off of that book. And, we didn't incorporate all of the philosophies from that book into our business, but several of them we did. And it's made such a huge difference in especially my mindset. Because it's the same thing like you, my mindset was always like, okay, whatever comes in first has to go to the business. We have to keep it healthy. If it needs this, if it needs that, we got, everything went. And then I got whatever was left over, which, like I mentioned, there were some times where the employees were making more money than I was. Here I was putting all the taking all the risk, putting all the time and that I wasn't getting, making any money on with everything. And here I wasn't seeing anything for it. Once I took that class and I bought the book and read the book, my philosophy changed. I'm like, hey, if I'm going to take all this risk, and I've been in business for 22 years now, I've been in business for that long. Why am I making less than my employees? I need to make more, substantially more than my employees. Otherwise, it's really, what is the use of doing all that? There's no use for it, And I think that's a mindset that sometimes we can kind of get stuck when we are looking at it in a subjective type of view, instead of stepping back and saying, hey, what's the reason? Why am I doing this? Right? What's the actual goal of my company? Is it to provide for my family? Or is it to just keep it afloat? Because if we're just keeping our business afloat, that's not a good enough reason to be a business owner.
So,
very cool.
Yeah, and I tell my wife I need more barbecue money too. So
that's right. We got and there's something to be said about that too, about our passions. I think the mindset is always for the corporate world, work hard, then you retire, then you can do the things that you want. But if you're a business owner, you should be able to put out time to do your passions, whether it's volunteer work, whether it's exercise, running or cycling, or whether it's cooking, whether it's going out fishing. Like Mike Nichols would be a professional fisherman if if he didn't need the money from his business, But if you can't do that, why are you a business owner if you can't make time for the things that are important to you? And understanding that's really important. Yeah. Well, along with that, and we had touched on this before we started the interview, you with that purchase of that big company, because you bought it, they had been in business since 85. So they had a long established company culture that didn't quite jive with your company culture. So maybe we can take a little bit of time and talk about the work you had to put into, one, with the merger, right? The combining of these two businesses, but also the combining of the cultures and making sure that company reflected what was important to you and not just what the status quo was of that company.
Right. So I purchased the company in 2019, and it was a mutual friend of mine that he had a magazine, and he contacted me, said, hey, I have this couple that want to meet with you, and they're looking at selling their company. And he said, I think it'd be a good fit. I said, okay. And so they lived like a mile and a half from me at that time. And so we talked, and, they discovered they had a company, and they were saying, because it was some life events for them that they got out of business. They had been in business for a while. And so we got to talking, and probably about a year, long story short, about a year later, after looking through the financials, things like that, like I said, I got the mentorship from Josh Latimer, made an offer on the company, and so purchased the company. So I went from doing mainly residential to doing mainly commercial and residential. And so that was the balance that I wanted. I wanted to have, residential and commercial work. Mm-hmm. So some of the guys that came over, we had some guys some long-time employees from that company, end up having to let some guys go. Then, it's kind of discovered, there was, they had some grievances, with, how long they've been working. One of the things that I failed to see was the price difference that I had. Mm-hmm. I saw the P&Ls, I saw, the money they were making yearly. But that was one thing that I missed. And so one of the long-term employees used to complain about, hey, I've been working this job for years and nothing's changed. And, once I went back and dug in, it was like, gosh, they've been building the same company for 15 years, same price. And I can understand why he was upset. So fortunately, we've been able to raise prices in those areas. But then, hiring guys, when I had my company, and kind of bringing those together, and trying to, create a culture that's totally different, because I know what I wanted, and I know the outcome, of the jobs. I know the work that I did, and it was trying to relay that information, but also, kind of investing in ownership in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was, we kind of rebranded that, had a, meeting, been able to provide some benefits for the guys and things like that, retirement benefits. So, just gave them that overview of, kind of where we at and, where we want to go. And so, we're still a work in progress, but, we're trying to bring all those things together.
Yeah. So what do you think was the biggest challenge? You mentioned like some guys were unhappy with that things hadn't changed in any years. What did you notice that was kind of, maybe they came in thinking things were going to be a certain way, but you really had to help them see it your way, or at least see it the way that you wanted your company to be run?
I think it was, they had been working with this company so long, so they had a certain mindset. So sometimes it came to like a face-to-face, hey, this is how it is, and this is how it's going to be. I had one particular, employee that, he called, and, I think I text messaged him something. And so he got heated. Mm. And so I said, hold on. I said, I'll be there. So drove across town, and I said, hey, this is, we can talk face to face. I think it'll be better. We get it. So we have this understanding. So it took some of that. But, so like the guys that come on now, they're being introduced to, this teamwork philosophy. It was more the previous, I think the other company, guys were more individualistic.
Yes. And
so, we want to create this teamwork atmosphere, and, we pay our guys, commission. And so, as guys like, hey, I worked, this much, and, I think I should get, this percentage, and, this guy, he wasn't here that long. So it was all of that, and we're here to do the same job. We have to accomplish the task. We're here for one, take care of do the work and take care of the customer. We want to walk away, 100% satisfied. The customer is totally happy. And that's a team effort.
Yes.
And, it's not about, hey, I did this and that did that. The goal is you go to a job, you work as a team. And I tell, hey, if you don't like each other, that's fine. But as long as you communicate on the job and you communicate with the customer and you get the job done, that's what you do.
Yeah. So very good. Yeah, no, I totally get that. In fact, something that was important to us was having that teamwork culture. And our new uniforms, because my company's name is Gabe Spotless Window Cleaning. So we have in our uniform Team GSWC on the front. And it serves two purposes. One, people who see us when we're out and about always say, what's this GSWC? And because they think it's like a sports thing. And then I turn around in the back, it has my Gabe Spotless. So it gives an opportunity for, to talk with them, maybe give them a business card, but it starts a conversation. But more importantly, it's a reminder to everyone that we are a team, and we should be a team. In that, because we were having issues where like a tech would be done at 2:00, and there would be three other crews still working till 5, and that 2:00 guy would go home. Instead of calling the office, letting us know, hey, I'm done. Anyone else need my help? He would just go home, because it was that individual mentality, like, oh, my job's done. Well, I don't know what they're doing, but. And we really had to work. It probably took about a good year, and it's still stuff pops up. We got to keep sending reminders. You guys got to keep working on it. I think that's important with the culture. But we finally got them to understand that, look, we're a team. So if there's a crew still out and they got a job that was way worse than what was, we were told, let's say had overspray that they didn't catch on the estimate or whatever, we're a team. We go help. We don't leave the one tech to work till 7 and all the other techs are at home, because they got done at 3. And it takes a continual effort of reinforcing that. And also, like you said, kind of calling it out when that culture is not being met, and making sure not in a necessarily a confrontational or a intimidating way, but just a reminder saying, hey, this is what you signed up for. This is part of the payroll. This is what your job is to be a part of a team, not an individual. So do you want to still be part of the team? Because if you're not, there's other jobs you can do. But it's when you get lax on that, the guys quickly fall back into their bad habits,
Yeah.
or their selfish tendencies, which, I mean, that's logical. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Probably something that I could work on more. And I mean, it's, I think it's that constant reminder. So it's probably something that I appreciate that. I should do that more often.
well, we signed up with Martha Woodward, and she has this kind of like this rock star type employee kind of incentive program, and I love it because I'm working, I'm busy, and so basically they have one person assigned to us, and she's kind of like the team cheerleader. So she'll like, hey, we're gonna have a contest this week. Anyone who has the best before and after picture is going to get a gift card, and so I give her a budget on that, and then she can do stuff like that, or whoever gets the most reviews this week gets, whatever, pass to a local event, and it helps kind of that camaraderie. And we've only been doing it for maybe a couple months now, and I've already noticed the difference with the guys. It's like, it's something to look forward to. It's not the same old. It's something new and then she'll just post kind of nice things on we have a group, full crew group text on WhatsApp, a chat thing, and it's really kind of lending itself to that team atmosphere, which we're trying to build. And that's something I don't even have to worry about, because that's them. I'm paying them to do that. Then when I do come in, it's like there's already a foundation. I don't feel like I'm having to build from the bottom every single time, from the start, or trying to like correct people and bring back. It's like, it's just a continual subconscious feed into that team concept, that we're in this together, we're part of a group. I've already noticed a big difference. So it's something I do recommend if it's within the budget, but very cool. Now, one of the things too you mentioned was customer service being a role in that, and everyone has a different idea of what customer service is, right? and so I've had that with some of my techs who excellent window cleaners, but that customer service part is lacking. So what are you doing to institute that with your teams, either both with new hires, but also to make sure that your current crew keeps their high level of customer service?
What we try to do is relay to the technicians that the customer service, everything begins when the phone rings to the salesperson. And then even Rob tells the guys, hey, I'm not out there trying to sell myself, I'm selling you. Mm-hmm. We're selling the experience. And so we want them to see that, hey, Rob is out there telling them, hey, this is what our tech's going to come out and do. They're going to do this, and this, and they're going to take care of everything for you. So the customer is waiting for the tech to come, and they're excited. Hey, I'm going to have this experience. And so that's what we try to say. It goes from when the phone rings until you walk, that last walk around with every customer, and to make sure they're 100% happy or 100% satisfied. So and it's always a constant work in progress of we do have some guys that are not so sociable, and not as sociable, they
right.
get work done, but then we have some guys that that's no problem. It's easier for them. So that's one thing we continually work on.
I think there's a marketing phrase you could use in there, and you could sell it, Sterling. So from the ring to, what can we say at the end? From the ring to the bill, or something like that. We'll work on that. We'll trademark it, and then we'll get to retire off of that. We'll do that later. But no, I love that, because it's true, right? If any one of those links in that chain is weak, you've just shortchanged, the customer's expectations, because you promised this, and whether it's the phone call, whether it's the arrival, whether it's the middle of the job, whether it's the closing of the job, and then any follow-ups that you might do, if any of those lack that customer service that you promised, they're going to focus in on that thing. They're not going to remember anything else you did, but they're going to focus in on that bad thing. So I love that. I love that concept.
It's nice to hear, like if Rob goes out to do an estimate for someone, they'll say, hey, gosh, Janice was so nice. It was a pleasure talking to her on the phone. And then, or, from the surveys we have and things like that, and the reviews, it's, hey, it's nice to hear, Rob came out, and man, he did a wonderful job. And then the guys came out, and they exceeded our expectations.
Yeah, yeah.
It's nice to be able to have to see all those things when it all works out together.
Now, could you talk a little bit about how you use Rob? He's your sales guy, right? What's his title? How do you use him? And like, when did that concept come of viewing him as an asset into your business life, and how has it worked out? Just maybe fill us in a little bit on that.
Rob's been with me for almost 2 years now, and like I said, we've been friends. We met at church, and when he decided, to kind of switch to the sales part, it was a no-brainer for me, because he could put together spreadsheets, tracking sheets, all those things, and it's just, I'm like, that's great, just send them to me. And so with him, I think going out working in the field gives him a better background when he goes out and does the sales. But I think he goes out and personally for each estimate. And so I think, and from that, it's grown. Our average ticket pricing has gone up because of that. We've done. He'll go out and not just the windows, but review the property and look at everything, and then put together package deals. Package deals has been residentially has been phenomenal for us this year, and I could say that we're probably $100,000 more this year than we were last year.
Nice.
So yeah, he's come in and just put all those things together, so that I don't have to worry about at all, and which is great.
Yeah, and I think you make a really good point, Sterling, and this is something I didn't get later until, again, like the conventions and stuff. There's a lot of different ways that people can make money for your company, right? It doesn't have to just be the actual literal window cleaning. And that was always my mentality, right? The techs, they make the money. The office, they hold down the fort, but they're taking money from the bottom line. Instead of thinking, no, they're an important asset to that. And there's other things too, like you mentioned. So here's a guy, he's not cleaning windows. He's not using a single squeegee. He's doing an estimate that you could do yourself. But the point is, he's doing it and allowing you to do other things other than that, right? So you're paying him, but the result is your bottom line for your business is now $100,000 more than last year. So is that a good deal? That's absolutely good. That's a no-brainer, right? And as a small business owner, sometimes we're afraid to make those hires because we don't see that benefit down the line. We don't see the extra income that comes from having an actual dedicated salesperson who is knowledgeable and skilled like he is. And they're just afraid of that number, that big number at the end of the payroll, right? They don't see how much more the business gains. So, congrats to you for seeing that and being willing to take that leap.
Yeah, and it comes from that knowing that I can't do everything. And then like I said, and there are some other things I want to do. I'm part of the chamber, do things in the community, things like that. So it allows me to be able to take the time to do those things, and so yeah, it's great. Yeah, and I was at a point at one particular time. It's when you think about trying to hire that salesperson, or you're thinking trying to hire a technician, and you're thinking, oh my God, I can see the money going, and how is it gonna come out. So I would advise encourage someone who's kind of at that point. Hey, do I hire someone? Do I hire a salesperson? It may be a little bit of an investment up front, but I think in the long run, one, it may produce more revenue, and then two, it's going to free up time to do other things.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I was talking with one guy a couple of years ago, and he was telling me just how he didn't want to hire, but he was like, I think I'm going to have to do something else. And I'm like, why? You have a great window cleaning business. He's like, I'm just bored of the work. I'm bored. It's the same thing. It's repetitive. It's this and that. And I'm like, then hire someone to do the boring stuff. Save yourself for the stuff you like, the challenging windows or talking to the customer if that's what you enjoy. Show up, but don't do the work. Just talk with the customer. However, there's so many other things you can do. But if you're bored of a business or a part of the business, hire someone to do that. then you can focus on the parts of the business that you love, and you can, and I don't know if you ever followed it or not. It was just one of those conversations you have at the conventions. But when people are afraid to hire, they're thinking they're going to make the same amount of money as they're making now, and all they see is that payroll chunk out of the money that they're expecting, and like, oh no, now I have to get more accounts to make up for that missing, instead of thinking, oh no, now instead of me making $100 an hour, I'm actually going to make $170 an hour, because I got this guy who's going to be helping me to do more work, but I'm only paying him $15 an hour because he's a helper, and they don't do that math, because now they're more profitable because of that hire. So anyways, it's just one of those things that until you have someone point it out to you, it's not really intuitive for a single owner operator to kind of think about.
I would say buying the second company that I bought, it kind of pushed me out there, that I had to do something. I mean, I couldn't satisfy everything that we have going.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So I had to trust some of the guys to do the work, things like that. And, so it just pushed, it's where I wanted to be. It's the direction I wanted to go, but it just gotten me there a lot faster.
Yeah. And you said the right word. It's learning to trust.
Yeah.
And there's a couple ways to get there, right? There's one, the incentive path, where you can say, or like a lot of guys will do, they don't hire them, they make them subcontractors, and they say, okay, you'll get 40% of whatever you do. And that's the incentive for them to do good work and to do it fast. And then if there's any callbacks, they have to go do the callbacks, and they don't get paid for the callbacks. So there's that pay incentive based paid for you to trust them. But there's also, like you'd mentioned earlier, about building that culture of teamwork and building the culture of wanting to do a good job because you're a part of the team and you reflect on that, and that's really where I try to come from that angle. The one thing I say, and I wrote an article in the American Window Cleaner magazine about, did you hire an employee or a window cleaner? Because an employee is just interested in that paycheck. They're just interested in doing the minimum to get that paycheck at the end of the day. But if they're a window cleaner, they care about the whole day, because it's on them, right? They're like, oh, if I go and do a terrible job, that reflects poorly on me, because I'm a professional window cleaner. They have a little pride in what they do. They aren't satisfied until the customer's satisfied. And that's who either one you want to hire, which is hard to find, but you can train them to be that way, and you can teach them to be that way, and we still use incentives. We still use pay-based incentives as well, but I want someone to do that because they feel like they're part of a team that they're appreciated in, and if you can get that, now you get the loyalty that just, because like we don't have high turnover with my company, and a lot of the guys I know, they're continually having to hire and hire and hire. And it's because, we're trying to build that culture. Why would you want to leave? Where are you going to find this teamwork anywhere else? Where are you going to find employees who care about you, and an employer who wants you to succeed and wants you to be able to provide for your family? So
that's one thing we definitely stress is, we're family. It's we want to treat it almost like a family. It's if you have, we've had younger guys come in. And, a lot of times you run across, they have financial difficulties, things like that, can't, balance, but, their personal finances. And so, between my wife and I and Rob, being able to counsel some guys, some young men, and being able to help them kind of straighten some of those things out. My wife went through a budget with one employee at one particular time that for some reason couldn't pay his rent on time. And so she went through his budget, and she had within 2 months, he had everything paid off, everything would be paid. And by the 4th month, he would have been putting away almost like $1,100 a month.
Yeah.
So, being able to help employees, because it's, it's more than, to me, it's more than just, you coming to work and earning a paycheck. We all struggle in life and through different things. And so, to be able to help is one good thing. And now we have 5 guys that want to work. And which is, it's hard to find nowadays.
It is.
And, now I have one guy where we're kind of grooming him for the operations part, because, I don't have to do the schedule.
Yes.
Then I go do maintenance, and then it's off finding somebody to do all the maintenance. And
exactly
do that. So yeah, so it's nice to have guys that want to work and, want to do a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, you hit a really good point. And I just want to share a quick experience that I had with one of my employees. And this again shows how important it is to have that team culture, because when it's a strictly employer culture, you'll kind of see where this employee was used to that, and he had come out of that, and he was real upset. He had a real bad day, and just really mistreated a customer. I had to go and do overtime to make amends with this customer. And I was like, what is going on, man? This is not like you. And I ended up taking him to dinner. We had a talk, a one-on-one, and it was basically, he felt like he wasn't making enough. He felt that he should be making this amount. It was hard work and it was getting hot here. And I said, okay, let's sit down, let's talk. So we talked, and I helped him to see, one, why he was making what he was making, right? And I said, this is how we determine it. This is why you haven't got a raise, in a little while, because of this and this. You remember this incident? Yeah. You remember this incident? Yeah. Okay. Well, if you want me to pay you this much, I'm paying you so that I don't have to even think about that customer. So if I'm having to think about the customer and I'm having to take time out of my day to go and handle problems that you're making, do you see where you lose value to the business? And it's hard for me to pay you this amount if I know I'm going to have to go out there and do the work anyways, or have to go pull myself out of my daily schedule to go handle a problem that you created, So, but what we also did, just exactly what you did, is we looked at his, not everything personal on his budget, but just certain things, his expenses, his rent, because he was living in a place where the rent was way higher than it should have been, and we worked on getting a plan, getting them out of there. How can we lower your rent? And he went to a nicer place with less money, or actually it was very close, but it was more than what they needed, because they were in this little cramped place. And he asked for certain things. We kind of came to an agreement, and by the end he was so happy, and he was crying a little bit, and he says, if I would have had this conversation at my last job, they would have told me, hit the road, this is what I'm paying you, this is what you're working for. He's like, and I really appreciate that you took the time to keep me on. I said, well, you're a value part of this team. I don't want to break up this team, so if we can do it, we will do it. But I just want you to know, it's not about the money with me. It's about what makes the most business sense, what keeps the tree healthy, of our business, or what can we do to make it where it's just as important, it's just as worth to you being here as it is us having you with us, And once you come to that, now it's like it's like we have a bond now, because he knows I genuinely care for him. He's not just a number on my payroll sheet that I'm managing. He's a person, and I care about him and his family. And now, he's bought in. Now he's part of the team, So that takes work though, right? That takes thoughtfulness and caring. And that's not always something that's evident in businesses, but I just think if you can get that, it just makes the business run so much smoother,
Yeah, even sometimes like little things. It's if my guys are doing a job, and hey, here's a gift card for dinner or whatever, and it's then I'll get a text message, hey, I really appreciate it. So so it's yeah, it's treat him more than just an employee.
Yeah.
It's nice. Celebrate births and things like that. So yeah, so it's good.
Yeah, and what you're doing is excellent too, because it's important for us to recognize when they do something good, just as important it is to point out when they made a mistake, And as owners, sometimes we get caught in the whole thing of like, okay, where's the mistakes? Oh, this is a mistake. Okay, hey, don't do that again. Hey, you did this. Why did you do? And if that's all they hear, then it's like, why would you want to come to a job like that where all you're going to do is get nitpicked, So to recognize them when they do something positive, when they get the review, or when the customer calls up and says, hey, and that's something that with that program I was talking about earlier, whenever someone gets a review, our agent, she'll post on our group thing, hey, so-and-so got this 5-star review from this customer, congrats, and everyone's like, oh, good job, and so it promotes that positivity in that culture, that we're looking for the good, not just the corrections, Awesome. One more thing I did want to kind of just touch on, because you mentioned that you have another business too that you run aside from this. And because of all of you've done so many different things. I'm a one-trick pony, right? I worked at a bank, I worked at some other things, but once I started my business, I've only done this for this whole time. But you're like a lot of other people, like Luis Martinez is another one, who, Kevin Hargis, the Vandermeers, they both have another business now. You've got other things going. So can you talk a little bit about entrepreneurship, and one, why would you even do that? What's the benefits of it, and how do you do it in a smart way and not just an ADHD way where you're just kind of, hey, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, and then like all of them, none of them are good because you're not giving the attention that you need to all of them.
I do have the ADH method sometimes. My mom has a book of Sterling's ideas. So
and in the volume 1, right?
Business ideas. So I have a whole book somewhere. And then but my wife kind of keeps me grounded, be like, yeah, no.
Nice.
I was just talking to her yesterday about another job. But anyway, so the second one I started, it's actually a tech company that I started. And so we're actually creating an online estate planning platform. So, and it came out of, just, seeing, friends and family members pass away. And then, some of the hardship they endured without having anything in place. So there's a couple of stories that, that when somebody dies that, it's people act differently sometimes.
Yeah. A lot of times.
So then, so that was that idea was birthed out of that. And then, I was introduced to a software developer, and then kind of going from there. So they're actually in the kind of middle of building everything out. So we have an attorney on board, a UI, developer, because I told him this is out of my wheelhouse. I have an idea, and then I invest in it, and then hopefully we'll have a great product down the line, which I think we will.
So how much of your hands do you have in that business? Did you develop it with the purpose of, I'm going to hire people to do it, this is just my concept, or are you involved like you are with your
no, not, I mean, I think the guys are more than competent, because I do no coding, I do none of those things.
Yeah.
So it's just, mine is just input. We meet once a week, and then kind of go over everything, and so I just kind of input where the vision that I have for this software platform. I have that. My niece is going to handle all of the social media part of it. And so in the marketing, and I'll probably be involved in some of that. But as far as the creation of, the coding and doing all those things, I know zero.
So is this kind of, are you wanting this to be like a passive income type business?
I think it is. It's, it's just for, like I was talking about, it's a stream of revenue. Okay. For the household. I like to think further ahead. It's being able to help my parents, if they need, and then, just having, that stream of revenue for the household,
Mm-hmm.
Whether we'll do investments or whether I want to, donate, to a charity or to ministry or things like that, being able to be in that position to do different things.
Yeah. So what advice do you have to people who, like, maybe they have an idea, but they're kind of afraid of, they got their own business already, they're the one that's working and it's successful for what they need, but they have they just got this itch of wanting to do something else. What advice do you have for them? Because I'm coming from a place where I tried that and it didn't do terrible, but it didn't do well enough to make sense for me to stay with it, because my business kept growing, and this other business that I had, it was just going to take way too much time and energy than what I had to put it to work, So I ended up selling it to someone else and let them kind of go with it. I wish I would have another chance to try it, that with that particular idea. but like, what do you reckon? What's your advice to kind of keeping your head on your shoulders while doing something like that?
I think if you have one business, I guess it depends on where you're at in that business, because if you're deep in the trenches and having to work, it's just really going to be hard to do that. My thing is, I enjoy going out window cleaning and pressure washing sometimes, in which I do. I don't do it as much, but with the other business, and I'm still involved in my window cleaning business here, more office wise and out marketing type things. But then the other one, to not detract from what I'm doing now,
Yeah.
having those people in place, and that's the one thing I learned from this one is, you put the people in place that can do the work. Like Rob is, has a background in sales, so I don't have to worry about that. Yeah. And then I have guys work. So now I found guys for the tech company that's their expertise.
Yeah.
So it's just, minimal input from me. Yeah. And so it's not pulling away from my main thing that I have going.
Well, and I think that makes a lot of sense. I know in my particular situation, I was still I was involved a lot more than what I am now in the day-to-day activities of the business. I'm still involved, obviously, but like, for instance, I'm not out working the field today. I'm talking with you, I didn't have that at that time. I was always doing something. And I think to give time to that business, I literally had to take a chunk of time out of my business to devote to that. And like you said, I felt like my windows was suffering because of that. And it was just like, well, the windows is still growing. That's healthy. This other business, it probably could grow if I gave another 2 years of effort towards it. I just don't have that, I don't have that to give, and I just better stick with the thing that's working. So that does make sense. The maturity of the business you currently have plays a lot in that part. Yeah. Anything else? Any other advice? Like, here's the thing I do. I talk myself out of ideas. So I'll have an idea and then I got 100 reasons why it's not going to work. So what advice would you give to someone who may have a negative tendency?
She'll tell you all the reasons to not do it.
So is that the key? Just have a million ideas and then one of them is going to make some sense?
Well, yeah, I think it's, I try. I always look at, like I said, I always tell my wife, I can sit down and build $1 million business in my head, but it's, the execution part of those things. So, the tech company, it made sense. We had an opportunity to do it and to invest in it. So, and then, like I said, it's not taking away a lot of time for me, which is good. So, I still have like 3 or 4 other ideas that I always, kind of bring up to my wife, but we know if it comes along, it's, if it works out, then we'll do it. But, we'll focus on these 2 things for now. And then, like I said, she's, she works, and, we're blessed. We're definitely blessed in where we're at now.
Well, I definitely think there is a certain gene that entrepreneurs have that most of like Michael Draper is the same way. Michael Draper he's had so many businesses that he started and sold, and he just moved on to the next one because he was like, well, I'm done. I did what I accomplished, what I wanted to do with that business. I want to start something else, and he's doing the expert safety services now and just killing it. But he's had so many successful businesses behind him, and I was asking about it, he was like, yeah, but there's always the ones that weren't successful. And that's what we don't talk about, So I think just getting over that fear of not worrying about if it fails, it fails. Hey, well, then we'll go on to the next idea. I think
not, you won't lose your house or, things like
yes.
That. I would say, if it's a dream and desire that you have, you just, you think it through and plan for the best and the worst. If it fails, then, it won't succeed if you don't even try. So
that's right. Good point. Awesome, man. Well, it's been very good talking with you, Sterling. It's so nice to get to know you a little better. Hopefully I get to see you. Are you going to be going to the Huge in August?
No, we'll be in Colorado. I was looking at it.
We'll be in Colorado. Okay.
We'll be in Colorado.
Yeah, I forget what the dates are. I know my she's got a convention for something that she's doing over, and so she's going to be in Texas, actually close. Well, she'll be in closer to Dallas, Fort Worth area. But I can't remember. I don't know if it's the same weekend as the Huge. So I'm hoping it's not, because I haven't gone to the Huge in a while.
Yeah.
So I that was one, it was during the COVID. It was like if I went, I was going to go to IWCA because that's the big one. But I do like to do. I went to one called the Ice Expo. I don't know if you ever went to one of those. They don't have them anymore. But I went to a couple of those, and those were really cool. I mean, they're smaller, but it was a little more cozy. And I made some pretty good connections at those, but then they stopped having them. So I was a little bummed about that, but now I value the IWC conventions a lot. So I that's the priority. But I do want to go to the huge again. I want to get back into that because I learned a lot from those as well. So, well, I wish you well both in your current business and in your new one. I'm excited. That's a wonderful area to grow, and hopefully you can help a lot of people with that. But most importantly, thanks so much for your support in ITF. Nice to have you in there, and we appreciate your example you set for our young guys.
All righty. Okay, man, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, nice talking with you, and nice talking with you, Flowmies, as well. You guys have a great weekend. Thanks so much for all your support of the Into the Flow group, and as always, flow on.